Welcome to another episode of URC Chumps podcast. It is an awesome week, depending on how you looked at it this week. A bit arrogant if you're especially wearing white. Yes, I am talking to the English supporters. But yes, as you can see, I've got Tim back with me this week. How's it, Tim? How you doing?
How's it, guys? How you doing? How's this, Cubs? Yeah, interesting stuff on the weekend, I must tell you.
Yeah, absolutely what you got. And I think it is so cutting and everything like this. We need to get straight into it right now this week. As I said, welcome back to our podcast. But yes, um, looking first of it, this week's results. We'll start from the bottom and work our way up because it's just the way it came up when I took the scores. SA versus Italy. Yet again, another injustice, which is making not South Africans, the world question the referees towards South Africa.
Yeah, I mean, two straight reds and 2 weekends. With it is absolutely just diabolical. Actually, I mean, when you have the technology on hand and not use it, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it really, World Rugby needs to have a look at it. It's all well and good to say to you about Frank and Mostert saying, yeah, his red card's been revoked, but it
Yep.
doesn't help the fact that it killed the game on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll cover that a little bit more later with another one that I got, image that I got a little bit later. But yes, I mean, honestly, I did honestly think that TMO was biased towards South Africa. Not only were there worse hits towards South Africans, that weren't called, but I mean, there was one where their flanker went down to go and try and steal the ball, and Volko came in and cleaned it. But I mean, perfectly, yes, it was a bit head on head, unfortunately, but it's what they used to call a rugby incident, where they were both at the same level and it was contact, like shoulder to shoulder with a little bit of a head thing, but it wasn't like malicious or anything like this. But the TMO is like, no, 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 it was foul play. And I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
yeah,
it's actually it's got to a point where it's starting to disrupt the flow of the game, and it's killing the games. It should be it should be a good game of rugby, but now it's being killed by the fact that at one stage we were playing with 13 men. Um, and it's just difficult as not only a South African supporter but a rugby supporter to get excited for a game and then have your team, not just your team, but any team early on in the game go down to 14 men for the rest of the game. It's especially when there are mitigating factors and you have the technology at hand to go and relook at it or give them a yellow with a possibility of a upgrade. But no, they don't do that. Only to the Springboks, funny enough. I mean, in the rest of the world, it's a yellow with the possibility of upgrade. With us, it's been two straight red cards. So
but I mean, I said it last week, in the podcast I know that I was by myself. The action of Lord Diache, unfortunately, I do have to go with the red card. However, it should have been a 20-minute red card because
I mean, sure. But those were massive mitigating factors. The
yeah,
the 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 Frenchman was pretty much on his knees when Lewis hit him. Lewis is over. He's close to 7 foot tall.
yeah. I mean,
Lewis on his
unfortunately,
knees. I mean, what more must the man do?
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Unfortunately for me, it was the tuck. I have to go with the laws there. It was the tuck that came in that for me mitigated it to a 20-minute red card, and I will have to be, as I said, I agree with the sanctions. The fact that it could come down to three now, that's what the rumors that I've heard. But yeah, but Sosa's one straight bump. I mean, worst of all, that should have been a yellow, worst case scenario, but it was straight red.
Again,
Yeah.
it just killed off the game. It made it very difficult for South Africa. It made it very difficult for the game in general to get going. Fair play to the Italians. I thought they pushed us hard. Hats off to them.
But
But
again, South Africans down to 14 men, coming so great that now there's memes going around, that there's petitions going out saying that South Africa needs to play with 15 men because we seem to play better with 14.
yeah, look, I mean, we mustn't get too cocky about it.
Yeah, no, no.
We're playing a very, I've seen the Irish side. It's a very good side, so we need to
Yeah.
keep cool heads. And Irish, the Irish coaching staff is fantastic. So I
Yeah.
think these are the two best coaches in world rugby going head to head, as far as I'm concerned. Rassie Erasmus and Farrell. I think they are the two best rugby brains in world rugby at the moment.
No.
So I think it's not only going to be a real good clash of teams, but it's going to be a really good clash of tactical stuff this weekend. So I'm excited.
Yeah. No, I'm also excited, but yeah,
Let's just hope that the ref can leave 15 against 15. It'll be
yes.
really nice if I can watch a Springbok game where there's actually a full a full component of players from both teams on the field. It would be
But
really nice.
let's also be honest. Ireland has also had their fair version of a controversy when it came to Targ Burney's incident against Bowden Barrett. So, I
Yeah,
mean, the
I mean,
past 3 weeks there's been horrible calls, and it
let's be
wasn't just
honest.
towards us.
Curbs. Let's be honest. Rugby's gotten very soft compared to what we used to play back at school. I mean, when I was playing first year rugby at school, it was fully okay to stand on people,
Yeah,
no problem. You know, um, and yeah, rugby has definitely gotten soft. Hence the stop start of the game because they say they want to speed up the game, but then they blow for any little thing that goes wrong. So
yeah,
it's a bit of a contradiction at the moment. Rugby sort of World Rugby needs to sort of clarify their laws because it doesn't work at the moment. A lot of their laws contradict themselves. They want to play this free flowing rugby, but then they blow for everything, like So it's interesting. It's interesting times ahead.
yeah. But then moving on so long, New Zealand starting off fantastic and then literally falling off the bus and going down 33-19 to New Zealand. However, everybody was raving about Pollock. However, I did see some pundits talking about Pollock, the fact that he was breaking off the scrums early. I would love to see him go up against South Africa. And when he went up against Argentina last time, when he was with the Lions, he was very quiet. So,
He's a good player. Let's credit where credit's due. He's
yeah,
he's a he's a rising superstar. However, I it was really weird. A couple of weeks ago, you asked me what I thought about Sasha's attitude, and and I said to you, you need a bit of arrogance on the field. The problem is there's the difference between a guy like Sasha and a guy like Pollock. Pollock's taken that attitude off the field as well as on the field.
yeah,
He's just as arrogant off the field as he is on the field, and I think it might get him in trouble in the long run. Whereas Sasha, when he's off the field, he's polite, well mannered, well spoken. He doesn't do these stupid TikTok dances. He's there to play rugby. So, I think it's
he's an ethical bishop's boy.
listen. I don't care what school he went to. He's a South African boy, and I'm proud of him, man. I'm glad he's on our side. I must tell you, I'm glad he's on our side.
Listen, to be fair, and I'm including your school as well. That whole area, when
Damn
it
well
comes to,
good.
yeah, I'm talking about Wynberg, Rondebosch, Sachs, Bishops. You always go check those boys. They always look prim and proper. If it's summer, there's hats and everything. They're always very respectful compared to the other schools. I will give it to that. Give you that. But yeah, um, moving on. Uh, we'll cover more as we go along with that, especially with the new series coming out next year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wales winning at the death for the first time in 2 years, 10 matches at home.
Yeah, I'm glad for Wales. It's also anytime Eddie Jones loses, I'm pretty happy. Um, However, I do enjoy the Japanese. I enjoy the culture. I enjoy the style of play. I enjoy the brave blossoms. It says it in their name. They are
Yeah.
just awesome to watch, awesome to be a part of. But Wales also good for World Rugby that Wales are starting to win again. Hopefully, it's a turning point. Hopefully, they can keep winning and then be sort of competitive in the Six Nations and stuff like that. Yeah,
We'll cover the next two games. There's a slide coming up with the next two games,
yeah.
but
Unfortunate,
we'll cover that a little bit more.
unfortunate for Wales. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then of course Ireland going up against Australia. Mac Hansen destroying his home nation. L
Look. Can I tell you from my side of things? Australia just looked tired. I think with the Lions tour, the Champions Cup, the amount of international rugby Australia have played this year, I think they're just tired. I think their players are just exhausted, and it showed on the weekend. Ireland were good, but they weren't 46 points good. Yeah, and I think Australia just lacked.
yeah,
They just lacked in the. I just think they're tired. I think they're just done with the season. I think they need a break. They need to go back to their families.
yeah.
I think, hell of an international year for Australia with the Lions tour and everything, and with everything they've done.
But that's
Um,
also that's also why World Rugby has come up with the new series that is coming out, which we will talk about a little bit later.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, anyways, yeah.
Yeah. Um, then of course France versus Fiji. Yet again, the Fijians putting up their hand, and unfortunately, the physicality just isn't up there with the cardio and the endurance, and they just lost out in the end. But they definitely gave France a run for their money
Well,
up until
you
a
know,
point.
the Fijians as athletes, pure athletes, are probably one of the best on the planet. So,
Explosive.
they are just absolute beasts.
Yeah.
So, you know, the more they play together, and this is what's starting to happen now, is Fiji are actually playing more international games against more quality outfits. So they're
Yeah.
not playing at World Cups. They're not just playing against specific nations like Tonga and these sort of nations. Now they're playing France. Now they're playing South Africa. Now they're playing Australia, New Zealand, and now they're starting to get proper game time against proper nations. And you can see now it's starting to become not such a whitewash, and they're starting to play some really team-focused rugby, and not just sort of one-off brilliance. Because in the past they've just had this one-off brilliance where they had these offloads and they had these powerful runners and they had these big hitters, but it was just individuals playing together. Now Fijians have got a time to play together more often. They've also got a team in Super Rugby, so they're playing a lot more often there. They're playing at a higher standard, and it's coming through in the national team. So at the moment, for me, Fijian rugby is only going to get better and stronger, and I don't think it'll be long before I think we see Fijian knocking over a couple of the big names at the top of world rankings.
Well, I mean, we have seen it in the past. I mean, Fiji
But
knocked over England before the World Cup.
more often.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm with you on the more often side. But yeah, um, but then moving on to the shock of the week for me. I mean, going
This
up
this was
$21-0.
okay. Yeah, that shocked me. The comeback for Argentina, fantastic. The result didn't shock me. If I looked at this result before I watched the game, I would have been, yeah, that's pretty much what I expected.
Yeah,
I expected Argentina to beat Scotland, and I expected them to be, yeah, 9, 10 points better. Um, I did not expect them to Scotland to throw away a 21-0 lead.
yeah. I
That is
mean,
that's just what?
yeah. I mean, I sat there at a point. I'm like, Shas, it's over. I'm done. I'm turning off and stuff like this. And I don't know what. Maybe turn on
Uh,
the second half and just literally watch. Boom. And
well,
but
thank
as I
God
said,
for Argentina. That's the only other Southern Hemisphere side that won this weekend.
yeah. But I mean, as I said to someone, I think when it came to the yellow cards, Argentina definitely capitalized on it because when um Argentina got a yellow card, it literally came down to one try, literally within the last 2 minutes of Molina's try. And as soon as Kinghorn got a yellow card, there was two
Yeah.
tries from Argentina. And as I said to someone else as well this week, I said the problem with Argentina is as soon as they get their tail up, they become
Momentum game
very,
for
yeah,
Argentina.
they become
Momentum game.
so dangerous. As soon as
Yeah,
there's
it's a
any passion.
momentum game for Argentina. In Argentina, on the front football is probably
Yeah.
one of the best attacking sides on the planet.
And I mean,
Uh,
also for a replacement to get man of the match, Santiago Carreras
yeah,
coming on off the bench and getting man of the match shows you how
but
much
he is
impact that bench had.
he's class. He
Yeah,
is absolutely.
no, absolutely. But yes, I mean, it is absolutely phenomenal. These are the world rankings. On the left was last week, and this week is on the right. As you can see, Scotland has now dropped down to ninth. Ireland has dropped down to fourth, allowing England to go up. Fiji, even though they lost, went up, which is good for them. Which, of course, now with the new bans, it doesn't quite make too much of a difference as of yet, the way that the standings were.
Well, I
Because
mean, it would make a little bit of difference, but
no,
not too heavy.
well, I mean, it makes a difference lower down, but I mean, according to the top 10, it isn't so much of a difference because it's top six is the first band, top second is the
Yeah,
second band. So
yeah,
yeah,
but if you are, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And then, as you said, Sosa's red card has been rescinded. Coming out, World Rugby's disciplinary committee has reportedly rescinded the red card and handed over Franco Master or handed over to Franco Masters with the win over Italy in Turin. Network 24 reports that the committee found that the match officials had erred and issuing the card for his tackle on the fly half Pablo Garbisi in the win. The disciplinary committee has therefore downgraded it to a yellow card. But I mean, it didn't make a difference in the thing. But yeah, and I did read an article that um, Skulkberger was quoted in something there. He says back in the early 90s with Curry Cup, the refs used to have to explain their uh calls. And I think we are getting to the point that people are asking for that now. We're going to need something where calls are going to have to be explained. That TMO from France, who I swear is just as bad as Boyd and Bryce Lawrence. Um,
Lawrence, wow.
yeah, I'm sorry. As soon as I put you in that category, you've lost all
Wow.
respect for me.
Lawrence is in the category zone. That
No, but I
category.
mean, when you hear the call and go, "Oh no, there was nothing in it," and stuff
Wow.
like this, yeah, I'm sorry. That guy was just as bad as Bryce Lawrence, the TMO. Dolman, unfortunately, was given being
That's taken
given.
so much curves, I must tell you, because Bryce Lawrence is the most crooked referee to ever walk this planet.
Yeah, I listen. That TMO is probably close. I hate we hate putting blame on refs, but that TMO. Like Dolman was asking, can you check that while running and getting told no, nothing of it, and then Sio's busy going out, but half the calls, like those calls are going against us, but not them. Like it needs to be fair. But that was I don't know if it was just he was so upset that we beat them in the 2023 World Cup, but then hoping that they would beat us the week before. We beat them with
Uh,
14,
you know,
and
yeah, it just take Sia Khaleesi, for example. In his 100th test, he had to sacrifice because he got a red card, a straight red. The
yeah,
next game, the very next game, he had to sacrifice again because we got a red card. So not only does it affect in the game, but it's affecting someone like Sia Khaleesi, our leaders off the field, both games, to sacrifice to the team.
yeah,
On his 100th cap, you know what I mean? They took him off on his 100th cap because of that red card.
uh,
And then the following week, the same thing.
yeah.
It's just, hats off to Sia Khaleesi. A
No,
real selfless act. He's been subbed twice in 2 weeks for a red card that he didn't do.
yeah.
So,
But yeah. Let's just say I was swearing at the TV, even though we were winning. I was
yeah, I was
annoying.
not happy. I was not happy.
Yeah. I don't know why it's frozen, so let's just go to this one. So yeah, this is the games coming up this weekend. Of course, starting off with Wales taking on New Zealand. which we know how that's going to go. Ireland going up against South Africa, which from the sounds of it, that is the game of the weekend. Italy hosting Chile. France taking on Australia, and unfortunately, like you said, Australia is a bit tired. We're
Yep.
gonna have to go with France. Scotland taking on Tonga, a very physical game because just like Fiji and Samoa and all that, Tonga is also physical. They're not quite at the Fiji level,
No,
but
no.
they are extremely physical, and you can't take them lightly. Otherwise, you will get
Dangerous.
bullied.
They are dangerous.
Yeah. And then England taking on Argentina. I can't wait for Pablo Montero versus Pollock.
I must tell you, this is one I really am rooting for the RGs.
Yeah.
Just because the English fans have been unsufferable since the New Zealand win. Pollock needs to be humbled. And quite frankly, they're a great team, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Argentina just have that X factor that England don't have.
So as you can see, we'll talk about the meme on the left, but the Wales Online releasing this early on in the week, the fact that Wales versus New Zealand's record is 3 wins for Wales to 34 wins for New Zealand. I was like, why are you guys pushing this when you guys aren't doing that great? Total points scored, Wales 370 to New Zealand's 1,054. The last win for uh, Wales was in 19 December 1953 in Cardiff, New Zealand Cardiff, not Wales Cardiff. Uh, Wales haven't beaten the All Blacks in 71 years. Of course, the biggest margin, which was in 1953, was 13-8. That was the biggest win for Wales compared to the biggest win by New Zealand in 2003, which is a 55-3, 52 demolition game that happened. I mean, it
I must,
absolutely
must tell you, I do think that record might be beaten on the weekend. I think New Zealand might just beat that 52-point deficit. I
yeah.
think after losing, and you know how the New Zealand public go absolutely berserk when they lose. Um, I know from my friends in New Zealand, they've gone absolutely off the chain about
But
that lot.
the the
Uh,
the the thing is, as I said it before, New Zealand's been flapping, and when I say flapping, even though it hasn't been a great game, they still won on a downward. That game against England was a down. This one now against Wales is on a up, and when they're on a up, they are extremely dangerous.
think they're gonna be very good on the weekend
Yeah.
because I think they're under a lot of pressure. I know that their coaching staff's under a lot of pressure. I know that Scott Barrett's under a lot of pressure. I see, for example, that they've sort of blamed the whole loss on Bowden Barrett, and so Damian McKenzie's
Scott.
starting. Then, yeah, they blamed everything on Bowden. They said Bowden basically single-handedly lost in that game. So they no, that's what that
No, I'm
TV
shaking my head in. I don't agree, and it was a couple of
that,
teams that
that's the
lost.
news TV, bro. That's one of their very well known talk shows are saying that Bowden Barrett single-handedly lost in that game, and it seems that Scott Robertson has also agreed because they made a change at 10, and Mackenzie's starting at 10.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is though, how many times could they have gone for polls and it wasn't Bowden's range, but they didn't go and do it? And it isn't just New Zealand. There was a couple other teams as well. Australia was another one. They could have gone for polls, but they went for the corners. They didn't go and put pressure on the scoreboard when they could have. And in the end of the game, they were chasing at a point.
Correctly.
Yeah,
You know,
this is
not
test rugby. It's
way
not
to take 3 points here, 3 points there, 3 points there, and all of a sudden you are back in the game. And you
exactly.
haven't scored. You just basically taken your points in their half. And that's why South Africa is so difficult to play. Because we will do that. We will tick off 3 points there, tick off 3 points there. And then when we're close enough to strike, current Springboks have that X factor that we can then kick into the corner and finish you off
Yeah.
with our dangerous wings. So yeah,
But it almost seems like they're trying to bring franchise rugby into international rugby, where it is a different level. You're not going to be able to handle international. And this is what South Africa's gone through the years. We got told it was boring rugby because we go with the scoreboard pressure, and then we would like bully at the end. But that's the point. If you are chasing the game in the first part of the game, you put the pressure on the scoreboard that you can be like, okay, cool. Once they got to a certain point, which of course is when South Africa puts it into a different gear and then shoots off. Um, but yeah, I mean it's kind of weird watching as I bring up the Irish thing. A lot of the teams are now going with a 6-2 split. And it seems to become
yeah.
the norm now in rugby, and no one's complaining about it. But when South Africa
Well,
first
I
started,
mean, when it's just people sort of don't like change, but then Rusty's just ahead of the curve a little bit, and some people have, especially the old generation, they like their traditions. Obviously traditions are important.
mm.
However, out of the box thinking is also not a bad thing.
But I mean, looking at the Irish team that we're going up against now, Andrew Porter, Dan
Great
Sheehan,
team.
and Tag Furlong. I'm sorry, that
That
front
that
row,
five,
ex
in fact, that entire front, that the first eight is insanely good.
insanely good. But also the thing is, Furlong for me, I've been watching him over the past couple. He just looks
Then
tired. He's old and tired, and
he's a wonderful scrummager, though. He's in
he is.
so so he might be lacking a little bit what he used to have in loose and off the ball running and stuff like that. But man, he's a good scrummager. And against Africa, they need to have a good base, and their scrum. If their scrum falls apart, South Africa win this game.
Yeah,
So Andrew Porter's probably up there with the world's best props. He's superb. Okay, we have to give him credit due. I understand South Africa's got two front rows that can make pretty much any worlds with 15. But Andrew Porter is an amazing prop.
and
Dan
we
Sher,
got two. Don't forget, we got two front row players that are in the World Player of the Year nominee lineup.
I understand that, but we are now looking at. I must just tell you,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate that we don't have someone like Frans Mahebe or Ox there, But the battle of the twos. This is the two best hookers in the world, as far as I'm concerned, going head to head.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see there, our front row is Bowen Fenter, which um hopefully he gets to play the first 40 full through. I know Rusty has taken him off a few times, but he is still young in his career, which is fantastic. That he's still keeping up to a point and still got Rusty's nod.
Yeah, he's just getting blooded in, and that's what
Yeah.
Rossi does really well. So, he's also got Wolfgang Low on the bench. Gerard Steenkamp. Gerard Steenkamp played a lot of rugby last year for the Springboks. So, he's got coverage on the bench, as we always do.
Yeah.
But I'm super excited to see Malcolm Marx go head to head. That's literally, for me, two of
Yeah.
the best in the world.
I mean, then we're looking at Tog Burney and James Ryan at the locks with South Africa having even Etzebeth and Ruben Nokia. So we've got a very technical lock, and we have a very physical enforcer in even. And then of course we've got Sia, Peter Steff, and Jasper Visa capping off
Yeah.
the forwards
Quality.
with them having Ryan Baird, Josh van der Fleer, who I will say a couple of years ago was fantastic and he was dangerous. Right now, he just seems to be going through the motions. And I'm not saying he's a bad player just before everybody starts crucifying me. I'm just saying it just seems like he isn't at that caliber that he was like 2 years ago when he was a World Player of the Year or 3 years ago. It it just seems like he's just reached a peak and now he's skating along there. And I think there is more in his tank. Is he waiting for next year or the year, or not next year, waiting for 2027 to actually full on release it? Or is it
I mean,
something
I
that,
think he
yeah,
needs to serve. earn his place. There's a lot of good players in Ireland at the moment, and if he is sort of skating through, he might even find himself out of the squad. So, um, again, South African loose trio is really good. Their loose trio is really good. I think, from 1 to 8, both sides are pretty evenly matched.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah. But then if we start looking at the halfback, Jamison Gibson Park and Sam Prendergast, as we know Dara is not a Pendergrass fan, and he already
Uh,
said,
yeah, I think Gibson Park, arguably the best scrum half in the world, behind the Pont. But Prendergast, if he has a bad day, Ireland will not win this game. And I think, well, yeah, they got great centers. I think the center combo is really where they're strong. Um, Aki and Ringrose, but then we've got our pride
yeah,
and Delende and Creole. So you know, again, I think the center sort of battle is going to be great. I think we're going to beat them in the 9-10 combo. I think Sasha and Kubas play together quite often.
and
They
it's
at the
also
Storm,
yeah, the Stormers lineup, so they're still going to carry on playing, which probably by next
yeah.
year is going to be a different level together.
So that's nice to see. I know that Gibson Park is a superb scrum off, but I do have my concerns about Prendergast. I
But
think
that's why
he,
Dara's already he said congratulations on the victory when we said released the team because of course Pendergrass was in
I think he could be the downfall of this Irish team actually.
yeah. Um, but I mean, as we can see, they got Mac Hansen at 15 to finish off the loose. I mean, not the loose, the back three. Like you said, they got Bunny Aki and Gary Ringrose. We know they can be very dangerous.
Centers, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and I mean, Ronan Keeler, Paddy McCarthy, and Finley Beelum are the front row replacements. Uh, Kane Pendergrass, Jack Conan, and Craig Casey, along with Jack Crowley, and Tom Farrell. Though we do know Dara, as a Munster fan, would have gone with Crowley first, and we do know
I
Crowley.
I would have gone with Crowley myself.
Yeah, and then of course with South Africa, of course, where are we standing? Because it's Andre Esterhuizen on the bench again, and then Grant Williams
Well,
and
well, now we have to. True. Last week I said, well, I said Dewey had to come in at flank because there was no other flank coverage. This week there's Kwagga Smith, so he now can come on at center or at flank. So it's now
but to
that's
my knowledge, sorry, but to my knowledge, we don't have to put 8 people in the scrum, do we?
no, not on our board. I don't think.
Or on their ball, which means we
I
could
think
play
on
with
their,
three.
I think on their, I think on their ball we have to have all out.
Oh,
I
well,
think on I think
we'll get that from
yeah, we
um
need clarity from Jacques here.
yeah, because I'm
And
just wondering because
that
on their
that
ball,
translator when he gives us clarity.
yeah,
We
I
need
mean
we need clarity on his clarity.
yeah, I mean on their ball, I mean imagine pulling out one guy and having three centers for for defense.
Yeah, look, I mean, our center duo on defense is very solid. So Jesse Creel and David Delende on defense are superb.
Yeah.
They're probably the best defensive pairing in world rugby at the moment.
Then of course we got Chesney and Kanan Moody on the wings, and then we got Damien Willemse. So we got a very dangerous person that will go for a cut and everything. It's pretty much the same with Hansen. You can't give him a lick of space, otherwise he's going to take that full
He's got,
opportunity.
Hanson's got jet cheese.
No,
He
but that's what I'm saying. But
he is
so does
like
Willemse. Uh, so I mean it's very dangerous. But I mean of course we got Kanan Moody who can also be a center on the wing. We got Tezzy that can play wing and fullback and probably even slot in as an extra 10 if need be, or even another scrum half. Yeah, Williams could be a winger. We don't know.
Yeah, Williams can slot in and wing or scrum off. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's versatile.
And then of course we've got Marnie. We all know where Marnie's going to go. It's straightforward. He's going to go straight into 10, which
Yeah,
yeah,
and then Sasha might drop down to fullback again,
all
and Dave.
center.
Yeah, I think what they'll do is they'll put Sasha to 15 and Damien Willemse to center.
Yeah,
So I have an idea that when Damien Delenda retires, Damien Willemse will be the new 12. And
but
I think
don't
when Jesse Creel retires, Caleb Moody or Ethan Hooker will be the 13.
don't forget the the original idea with Willemse was in 2019 when he was starting to come in the Springbok thing.
Was a
They were
10.
already breeding him to be the next Francois Steyn.
Yeah, but I don't know if you watched the game in the championship where he played 12 and he was superb. He was absolutely superb at 12. And I just thought, Damien Delender's getting on a bit, Jesse
Yeah,
Creel's getting on a bit. Who's going to take these guys' spot? And then I thought about it, and then it became sort of, I thought Damien Williams at 12, Caleb Moody at 13, or Ethan Hooker at 13.
yeah.
And then you got Fussy at fullback, and then you got,
I think
I,
that's the issue right now is Fussy's off injured.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, Fussy's a superb rugby player.
No,
Uh, Come a long way on the high ball and on his defense as well. So he's put in the hard work. It's sad that he's injured, unfortunately. But it
and
does give someone like Damien Willems a chance to put his name up for the 15 jersey.
yeah. I think right now South Africa's a little bit spoiled because if Fussy's injured, Willemse steps up. If Willemse is injured, Fussy steps up. But also at the same time, Fussy can still go wing. Willemse can go 10, 12.
You're also forgetting about a guy called Willie Leroux. I mean, he's still around about. He's playing a good rugby at the Bulls. Yes, he's not top top two in the Springbok 15 choice, but
Yeah.
hey, if there's a couple of injuries, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing a Willie back in a 15 jersey.
But
Uh,
as far as I understand, the whole idea behind Willie was Willie isn't gone from the setup, but he isn't first choice. As far as I know, he has been there a few times to help mentor the guys and get them in the right mindsets and everything. But we do know from what was explained and spoken to him is next World Cup he's not in the team.
yeah, I mean,
Unless
I
something
would assume
happens.
so. I just, there's we just have very a lot of options, so we are
Yeah,
blessed. It does create headaches for coaches and selection, but yeah,
yeah. But I mean, it's going to be an awesome game. It's going to be one hell of a banger between these two teams. I am looking forward to it. I know there will probably be a little bit of banter going back and forth on our WhatsApp group
for
between the
sure,
four.
for sure.
I can't wait for the Jacques and Dara
Uh, uh,
back and forth. Um, but yes, it is going to be a great one. However, we do have some sad news that's recently come out from the Lions cap. Jaco Fosaki, due to injury, has to retire. Um, Unfortunately, he's picked up a serious injury that has put him at risk, and he has to retire. He was at the Bulls. He then moved over to the other side of the Yetske River to go play for the Lions. And unfortunately, his time at professional rugby has left. He was a very mobile hooker, and unfortunately, yeah, he's had to
yeah,
call
sad,
time.
sad.
No, it is sad. It's not nice. Even though here in South Africa we could have a lot of banter between the teams and everything, it's still sad when you see a
Oh, rugby at the end of the day, yeah.
yeah, it comes down and that unfortunately has recently came out. It broke out earlier today. I haven't been able to pull up exactly what was the cause of the injury and why the injury was why he was advised with the injury to retire. But yes, um I one thing I did read up, and it isn't just from our point of view, it is also from Ireland and other point of views. They're really hoping that the refs that come up this weekend, TMO and whatever, are literally like Nigel Owens and Angus Gardner level. Angus Gardner, yes, I do know he was involved with the Lood de Jager one. However, I will stand up behind him and say he was telling them he sees mitigation to go to bunker, but it was everybody else that turned around and told him. And being the great team play he is in that team, he did go with them. Unfortunately, that was the wrong decision. Uh, to a point, like I said, Lood, I still think was a red card, but in a 20-minute format, not in a permanent. And as I said last week in the podcast, I do agree with the sanctions given to him. Uh, Coleman, on the other hand, oh, sorry, not Coleman, Dolman, on the other hand, I think that was clear and utter. I don't know what was happening. And there were other hits in the game and happening in other games that nothing was happening. The call has been made by everybody. We want consistency.
Yeah.
If we get red cards for that, then you need to give red cards to the other team doing exactly the same thing.
There
You
just needs to
can't.
be a bit of accountability for refs. I mean, there needs to be some sort of accountability. That is their job at the end of the day. They fly around the world to ref rugby games. That's their job. That's their income. I mean, if I'm poor at work, I've got to be held accountable. I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get, um, I'm going to get some sort of repercussions to my bad work. I can't just be like, oh, I can't be right all the time. You
No,
know, oh, I can't see everything. Imagine
yeah,
I just read the band wrong and I built the wrong thing, and I just go, well, I can't see everything.
yeah.
I'm only human.
But that's
Sorry,
what I
I've
love
got a job,
about
and
Angus
so should
Gardner.
they.
But that's what I love about Angus Gardner. Angus will communicate everything he sees. And
Yeah,
if he's wrong, he will openly say, and I mean, you've heard him a couple of times say, well, actually to the player, actually, you know what, you're right. And then also say, I'm sorry, I did not see that at this point or at that ruck or whatever, but I'll keep my eye out for that at a later
I
stage
mean,
if it's a
don't
valid.
get, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about schoolboy referees. I'm not talking about amateur referees. This is their job, so they must be held accountable. Um, yeah, it's good to understand the reasoning, but even if you understand the reasoning, if the reasoning is still wrong, there needs to be a held accountability. Like there needs to be sort of accountability for the refs and their decisions and their actions, because end of the day, that is their job. And it's not as if they are amateurs. It's not as if they are. Um, I agree they're not biased. I agree they're not intentionally missing things. However, if you're bad at your job, you're going to lose your job.
Yeah,
In any field, it doesn't matter what field you are.
I,
And
I
you
still I
can't
still
see everything,
believe that.
but he can
Yeah,
still be consistent in what he does see.
I mean, I'm still very adamant on the point that there needs to be a review panel for the refs. And
Yeah,
I'm not
sure.
talking about the game side, but where a ref, let's take the Italy game for instance, a ref from Italy, a ref representative from South Africa, and a neutral ref actually sit down with let's say the four of them, because I'm also including the TMO because the TMO does help make decisions and actually rate them and tell them where they went wrong on it. And then if there's corrective forms on it, inform the public, like, yes, we have seen this, there are corrective forms. And again, in that whole article that Skulkberger was saying about in the 90s, where the refs had to come out and say why they called certain things out. Um, say this, we have identified the points that the refs were weak. There is corrective points. They will not be refereeing so many games. They will have to referee so many games and reach a certain rating in the things before they can come back to international level.
Yeah, I mean, there needs to be some, like, I mean, World Rugby now needs
Mm.
to look at the refs, and they need to look at sort of, again, like I say, holding referees accountable for their job. And
I think if World Rugby holds the referees accountable, there will be less social media abuse to the refs.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be easy being a ref.
No.
But at the end of the day, if you're consistent, then both sides are like, oh, he's consistent.
Yeah.
The worst they can say is that you're consistently bad. That's
But you make the call for
that's
the one side and the other side.
correct. So
Yeah.
they can't say, oh, he's just biased or he's only calling one side. All that the worst thing I can say is actually just a bad referee. He's called both sides badly, poorly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's sort of where it ends. But it's going to be a long process because World Rugby doesn't like putting the refs in the spotlight. They want the refs to be treated with utmost respect, and they do get treated with utmost respect. However, they need to be held accountable, and not by the players, and not by the critics, and not by the rugby fans, but by World Rugby itself.
But that's why it comes back to my point is if we could see there was some sort of
Yeah,
holding
I
them
mean,
accountable, we
if
as fans would be like, okay, cool.
correct,
World Rugby's
correct,
doing their thing.
it's getting taken care of.
Yeah.
He's getting what he's meant to, or he's learning from this mistake, or
Mm.
whatever the case may be. Don't just sweep it under the rug and just be like, oh, well, next time he's going to be better. No, that's not what we want. We want to hear that this is going to be fixed. We want to hear that he's been spoken to and the things have been addressed and approached and he knows for the future. Hey, maybe that was a mistake. Next time, let that go a little bit longer. Or next time, check this out. Maybe you should have checked with the TMO, given a yellow there with the possibility of an update on the red
But I
instead of
mean,
straight red.
that's the whole point of the bunker was to eliminate
Correct.
the time of
Correct.
sitting there going, okay, and then the refs going, am I making the right call? Am I? It was
But
easy enough for them to
also,
go.
how many other teams have gotten straight red cards?
There
And,
hasn't actually been a
and
lot
actually seen one, a straight red.
since the bunker. No,
We've gotten two in two games.
yeah,
How's
I
that,
think there's
how's
been
the rest of the world not got a single one, and we've gotten two in 2 weeks?
I
And
think there
both
has been a few, but
I'm
I,
talking about international rugby at the moment. Like
yes, yeah, that's the thing. It hasn't been. I know there was one in the female. I think it was in the World Cup or just before the World Cup.
yeah,
There
yeah.
was one which kind of explained that whole discussion that we were having. What happens if it was a intentional act of foul play?
Then it
What
should be
happens then? No,
if a punch is thrown or eye gouging or whatever the case may be, straight red card, no issues with it. I will clap if the
I
guy
think it was
gets.
that biting incident that
Yeah, if
happened.
a guy or a lady bites someone on a rugby field, straight red.
No,
If
no,
you kick someone, straight red. If you punch someone, straight red. I've got no issues.
yeah,
However, stuff like on Saturday where you're not 100% sure if the mitigating factors or what the case may be, use the technology, send them off with a yellow with a review. I mean, then you're doing everything by the book.
yeah. And I mean the one that I was talking about, there was that incident where I can't remember, I think it was a American or something, but one of the other ladies on the arms and stuff. It wasn't, as the refs said, I didn't see it. The TMO said, no, we need to do a check because there was something, and then it got shown. And then the ref, which was a South African ref, just by the way, turned around, Amy Barrett-Taron, and said, no, that was an intentional act of foul play that was given. It wasn't like it was a clean out that could have gone either way. It was no. And she said, that is a straight red card. That is no 20-minute. That is no replacement. You are down to 14 for the rest of the game.
100% agreed.
Yeah. And that was Thomas Lavanini, for instance, is one of those players that was so dirty and off the ball tactics and stuff like that, that he would be getting straight red cards.
Yeah.
However, as the laws have changed and everything like that, he cleaned up his act, and I think he cleaned it up so much that he hasn't been able to get back into the Argentina squad.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he hasn't his enforcer role just sort of hasn't yeah, he's lost a little bit of his enforcement
Yeah,
since he threw him around like a baby.
marched him straight back to his try line and told him to sit.
That's correct.
But yes, um, Guys, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. Thanks very much for the growth we've been having and everything like that over the past period. Guys, let us know your predictions for the week as well. But yes, Tim, thanks very much for
Yeah,
being with me
pleasure,
today.
man.
And
Any
remember, fellow champions, be safe, go well, and rugby's going to win.